One of the reasons parasites would be active in the colon is because the colon is not in a very healthy state. So they can take some herbs to help clean the colon out, and they can also take some herbs to kill parasites. Now, the pumpkin seed has some bitter actives in it that parasites and worms hate. So take a quarter of a cup, say, first thing every morning. That's the first thing you eat when you start breakfast. Fresh garlic, that's a real deterrent. But also there are two very bitter herbs. One's called wormwood and one's called black walnut. They're incredibly bitter. They can kill parasites and worms.
Have you ever felt like something is living inside you, feeding off your energy, bloating your belly, and leaving you exhausted no matter how much you sleep? What if I told you that the very spices sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now could be more powerful than prescription drugs against some of the most stubborn invaders in the human body? For centuries, ancient healers kept these secrets locked away, passed down through generations in remote villages where pharmaceuticals didn't exist. But modern science is finally catching up, and the results are nothing short of astonishing. Studies show these natural compounds can paralyze, dissolve, and even sterilize parasites before they reproduce. You're about to discover 5 weapons that nature has hidden in plain sight, and number 1 might just make you rethink your next meal. So stay tuned, because today we are diving deep into the top 5 natural remedies to kill parasites in the human body. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Let's begin with the undisputed heavyweight champion of the natural anti-parasitic world. Garlic is not just a culinary staple, it is a botanical arsenal. For over 5,000 years, every major civilization, from the ancient Egyptians who fed it to pyramid builders for stamina, to the Greeks and Romans who used it to treat intestinal disorders, has revered this bulb for its medicinal might. But when we talk about parasites, we are talking about garlic's most aggressive feature, its volatile sulfur compounds, specifically allicin. Allicin is not present in whole, intact garlic. It is a defense mechanism. When you crush, chop, or chew a clove, you rupture the cell walls, allowing an enzyme called alliinase to convert the precursor alliin into allicin. This is the compound that gives garlic its eye-watering sting and its lethal reputation among microscopic invaders. So how does allicin actually wage war on a parasite? Imagine the parasite's cell membrane as a fortress wall. Allicin is a highly reactive molecule that contains a thiosulfonate group, which readily reacts with thiol groups, the sulfur-containing proteins that are critical for cellular function. When allicin encounters a parasite, it rapidly oxidizes these thiol groups, effectively destroying the enzymes that the parasite needs to move, feed, and reproduce. It is a broad-spectrum attack. Research published in the Journal of Parasitology has demonstrated that garlic extract can inhibit the growth of Giardia lamblia, a notoriously resistant protozoan that causes severe diarrhea, by disrupting its cytoskeleton and preventing it from attaching to the intestinal villi. Furthermore, studies on Entamoeba histolytica, the amoeba responsible for amoebic dysentery, have shown that garlic not only kills the trophozoites, the active feeding stage, but also reduces the virulence of the cysts that pass through the stool. This is crucial because it means garlic doesn't just treat the active infection, it helps curtail its spread. Even more impressively, some veterinary and in vitro studies have suggested that garlic can act against tapeworms and roundworms by causing neuromuscular paralysis, much like a chemical stun gun that forces the worm to release its grip on the intestinal wall. But garlic's genius doesn't stop at direct attack. It is a profound immunomodulator. It enhances the activity of natural killer cells and macrophages, the Pac-Men of your immune system, while simultaneously reducing the inflammation that parasites often trigger in the gut lining. By increasing the production of hydrogen sulfide in a controlled manner, garlic also helps maintain the integrity of the gut mucosal barrier, preventing parasites from burrowing deeper into tissue. However, we must address the elephant in the room, the delivery method. Cooking garlic neutralizes allicin. To get the antiparasitic punch, you must consume it raw. The standard protocol involves crushing a fresh clove, allowing it to rest for 10 minutes to maximize allicin formation, and then ingesting it. You can mix this with a tablespoon of raw honey, which not only masks the heat, but also adds its own antimicrobial synergy, or fold it into a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil, which helps protect the elichen from stomach acid long enough to reach the small intestine. Start with 1 clove daily. If your digestive system tolerates it without heartburn or significant flatulence, you can increase to 2 or 3 cloves spread across meals. If garlic is the chemical warfare specialist, pumpkin seeds are the tactical saboteur. These flat greenish-white seeds, often relegated to a seasonal snack, are one of the most underappreciated anthelmintics in nature. The indigenous peoples of Central and South America used pumpkin seeds for centuries as a primary treatment for intestinal worms, and the practice was so effective that it was adopted by European herbalists in the 19th century. The active agent here is a unique amino acid called cucurbitacin, a compound that has a very specific, almost surgical mode of action. Parasites, particularly tapeworms and roundworms, rely on a delicate neuromuscular system to maintain their hold on the intestinal mucosa. They literally clamp onto the microvilli of your gut using suckers and hooks. Cucurbitacin interferes with the ion transport across the parasite's muscle cell membranes, effectively blocking the uptake of sodium and potassium. Without this balance, the parasite's muscle contractions become erratic and weak. It isn't killed outright. Instead, it is stunned into submission. The parasite loses its grip and is physically dislodged from the intestinal wall, becoming a mere passenger in the digestive stream, destined to be swept away with the next bowel movement. What makes pumpkin seeds particularly brilliant is that they are incredibly gentle on the human host while being toxic to the invader. They are packed with zinc, a trace mineral that is absolutely critical for the development of T cells, which are the generals of your immune response. Zinc deficiency is a known risk factor for chronic parasitic infections because a weakened immune system cannot mount a proper defense. By consuming pumpkin seeds, you are not just paralyzing the worms, you're arming your own body to clean up the debris. Additionally, the high fiber content of the seeds acts as a physical broom. Once the parasites are paralyzed, you need them out quickly. The insoluble fiber adds bulk to the stool and promotes peristalsis, the rhythmic contractions of the intestine, ensuring that the dislodged parasites, along with their toxic metabolic waste, do not linger and decompose inside you, which could cause a Herxheimer reaction, a temporary worsening of symptoms from toxin release. Traditional healers often combine pumpkin seeds with a mild laxative, but the seeds themselves usually suffice if consumed in adequate quantities. The scientific backing here is notable. Now let's talk about the practical application. To unlock the cucurbitacin, the seeds must be chewed thoroughly. Grinding them with your teeth breaks the cell walls and releases the active compounds. The raw, unhulled seeds are far superior to the roasted, salted ones you find in grocery stores. Roasting at high temperatures can degrade the delicate fatty acids and reduce the bioavailability of cucurbitacin. You should aim for about a handful, roughly 30 to 50 grams per day. The most classic and potent delivery method is to grind the raw seeds in a food processor until they form a coarse meal, then mix them with a glass of warm water. Or better yet, blend them into a smoothie with a banana and some coconut milk to mask the slightly grassy taste. Some practitioners recommend eating them on an empty stomach first thing in the morning, waiting about an hour, and then taking a tablespoon of castor oil or a cup of senna tea to forcefully expel the paralyzed worms. This flush technique is aggressive and should only be done for a short period, 3 to 5 days. We move now from the gentle giant to the sharp, bitter warrior. Papaya seeds are the black pearls hidden in the center of the sweet orange fruit, and they are one of the most scientifically validated natural anti-parasitic agents on the planet. While the flesh of the papaya provides vitamin C and digestive enzymes, the seeds are a concentrated bomb of proteolytic, protein-digesting enzymes and alkaloids. The primary active enzyme is papain, but it doesn't work alone. The seeds also contain carpane, an alkaloid that has been shown to be toxic to parasitic amoebas, and benzyl isothiocyanate, a compound that gives the seeds their peppery, bitter kick, and has demonstrated potent anthelmintic activity in multiple peer-reviewed studies. The mechanism here is almost visceral. Papain degrades the protective protein coat of parasitic worms. Think of the parasite's cuticle, its outer skin, as a rigid suit of armor made of tough protein. Papain hydrolyzes the peptide bonds in this cuticle, effectively melting the armor away. Once this protective barrier is compromised, the parasite's internal organs are exposed to the harsh digestive fluids of your intestine, and it essentially dissolves from the outside in. This is a direct chemical dismantling of the parasite's physical structure, rather than just a neurological stun. But the research on papaya seeds is what truly sets this remedy apart. In a landmark study conducted in Nigeria, researchers took 60 children who were heavily infected with intestinal parasites. They divided them into groups. One group received a treatment of air-dried papaya seeds mixed with honey, while the control group received honey alone. The results were staggering. In the group that received the papaya seeds, a massive percentage, over 70%, had complete eradication of their parasites within just 7 days. The stool samples of these children showed a complete absence of parasite eggs and cysts. The study was so compelling that it was published in the Journal of Medicinal Food and is still cited today as a prime example of traditional medicine outperforming expectations. Another study focused on blastocystis, a notoriously difficult to treat protozoan that causes chronic bloating and fatigue, found that an extract of papaya seeds significantly inhibited its growth in vitro. The seeds don't just kill adult worms, they are also thought to exert an ovicidal effect, meaning they can destroy the eggs that would otherwise hatch and restart the cycle. This dual action, attacking both the mature parasite and its reproductive stage, is rare in a single natural compound. Consuming papaya seeds requires a specific protocol because they are potent and, frankly, bitter. The taste is an acquired one. It's reminiscent of mustard and cracked black pepper, but with an acrid, lingering bitterness. Do not swallow the seeds whole. They will pass through you undigested, and you will miss all the benefits. You must crush them. The most effective method is to scoop the fresh seeds out of a ripe papaya, rinse them to remove the slimy coating, and then grind them into a fine paste using a mortar and pestle or a blender. A typical dose is 1 tablespoon of this fresh paste, mixed with a teaspoon of honey or a splash of lime juice to cut the bitterness. Consume this mixture on an empty stomach, ideally twice a day, morning and evening, for a period of 5 to 7 days. You can also dry the seeds in the sun and grind them into a powder to store in a jar. Half a teaspoon of this powder stirred into a glass of warm water serves as a potent antiparasitic tonic. However, a massive word of caution is necessary here. Papaya seeds are powerful uterine stimulants. For this reason, they are strictly contraindicated during pregnancy, as they could trigger contractions. They are also not recommended for breastfeeding mothers or small children without strict medical supervision. We are going to pause and talk about oregano, not the dried flakes in your spaghetti sauce, but the potent concentrated essential oil that is distilled from the wild oregano plant, Oreganum vulgar. This is the heavy artillery of the natural world. Oregano oil is so intensely antimicrobial that it has been studied against antibiotic-resistant bacteria and stubborn fungal infections. But for parasites, its action is nothing short of catastrophic. The 2 primary phenolic compounds in oregano oil, carvacrol and thymol, are powerful lipophilic molecules. This means they love fats. And because the cell membranes of parasites are composed of fatty lipid bilayers, carvacrol and thymol can penetrate these membranes with ease. Once inside, they disrupt the proton motive force, which is essentially the cellular battery that drives energy production. They also cause a massive leakage of potassium ions and ATP, the energy currency of the cell. The parasite literally loses its charge and bleeds to death metabolically within minutes of exposure. This is not a gentle nudge. It is a systemic collapse of the parasite's cellular integrity. The clinical evidence for oregano oil is arguably the most impressive among all natural remedies. A specific study published in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology looked at patients with persistent, treatment-resistant intestinal parasites, particularly Blastocystis hominis. These patients had tried multiple pharmaceutical courses with no success. They were then given 200 milligrams of emulsified oil of oregano 3 times a day for a duration of 6 weeks. The results were astounding. The majority of the participants experienced a complete disappearance of their parasitic symptoms and a full clearance of the organisms from their stool samples. The researchers noted that oregano oil was not just effective, but remarkably well tolerated, with the only side effects being mild, transient gastrointestinal upset in a few individuals. Another study highlighted its efficacy against Giardia and Cryptosporidium, 2 waterborne parasites that are notoriously resistant to standard drugs. The essential oil disrupted the life cycle of these protozoans, preventing them from encysting and thus stopping them from spreading to other hosts. Now let's get down to the gritty details of usage. You cannot simply chew on oregano leaves and expect these results. The concentration of carvacrol in fresh leaves is too low. You need the essential oil, but here is the critical rule. Oregano essential oil is tremendously potent and corrosive to mucous membranes. Never, ever take it undiluted. It will burn your mouth, your esophagus, and your stomach lining. The only safe way to use it internally is to purchase a high-quality, food-grade oregano oil that is pre-diluted with a carrier oil, such as extra virgin olive oil, or to dilute it yourself. The standard therapeutic dose is typically 2 to 4 drops of the pure essential oil mixed into a glass of water, a tablespoon of honey, or a shot of orange juice. Because oil and water don't mix, it's often better to put the drops into an empty vegetarian capsule or mix them into a spoonful of coconut oil to ensure it passes safely through the stomach. You should start with just 1 drop on the first day to gauge your body's reaction. If you don't experience burning or nausea, you can increase to 2 drops, taken 3 times daily between meals. The treatment protocol often lasts for a strict 2-week period. After that, you must take a break, at least a week, to allow your gut microbiome to recover. Remember, oregano oil is a nuclear option. It doesn't discriminate. While it decimates pathogenic parasites, it can also reduce beneficial gut bacteria. Therefore, it is absolutely essential to follow a course of oregano oil with a high-quality probiotic supplement to recolonize your intestine with friendly flora. We arrive at the final and perhaps the most strategically crucial member of this anti-parasitic quintet, cloves. If garlic attacks the adults, pumpkin seeds paralyze them, papaya seeds dissolve them, and oregano detonates them, then cloves are the cleanup crew that ensures the problem never returns. Parasites are notorious for their reproductive tenacity. A single female roundworm can lay up to 200,000 eggs per day. Those eggs are encased in a protective shell that is impervious to many digestive enzymes and pharmaceuticals. You can kill every adult worm in your system, but if those eggs are still there, they will hatch, and you will be back to square one in a few weeks. Cloves, specifically the active compound eugenol, are the most potent natural ovicidal agents known to herbal medicine. Eugenol is a phenylpropanoid that has been shown to inhibit the hatching of nematode eggs and the sporulation of protozoan cysts. It achieves this by interfering with the permeability of the eggshell's membrane, preventing the exchange of gases and nutrients that are essential for the embryo to develop. In essence, cloves sterilize the environment. Historically, cloves have been used in the famous Clarkia protocol, a combination of green-black walnut hull tincture, wormwood, and cloves, which was popularized by Dr. Hulda Clark as a comprehensive parasite cleanse. While the protocol itself is controversial, the individual efficacy of cloves is supported by a solid body of research. Studies on Haemonchus contortus, a parasite that infects livestock, showed that clove extract significantly reduced the hatching rate of eggs and the motility of larvae. In human contexts, eugenol has been shown to possess broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity, but its specific role in preventing the life cycle continuation is its crowning glory. Without cloves, you are simply fighting a war of attrition. With cloves, you are cutting the supply lines of reinforcements. Using cloves is far more palatable than some of the other remedies on this list. They have a warm, aromatic, slightly numbing flavor that is enjoyable in teas and baked goods. For therapeutic purposes, you want to use whole cloves or freshly ground clove powder. The essential oil is available but should be used with extreme caution because it can be hepatotoxic, toxic to the liver, in high doses. For internal use, the powder is safer and more traditional. The standard approach is to add 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of ground clove powder to a cup of warm water, steep it like a tea, and drink it once or twice daily. You can also combine it with a pinch of cinnamon and a drop of honey to make a soothing digestive tonic. The powder can be sprinkled into smoothies, soups, or oatmeal. The key to effectiveness is consistency. While most other remedies are used in short, intense bursts, cloves can be used for a longer duration, up to 3 weeks, because the dosage is lower and the action is subtler. However, you must respect the dosage ceiling. Do not exceed 1 teaspoon of powder per day, and do not take the essential oil internally without professional dilution guidance and supervision. An overdose of clove oil can cause severe abdominal pain, difficulty breathing, and convulsions. So, we tread carefully. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm share this information with people who need it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into natural health. See you in the next one.